Hey everybody, it's Andy here, and welcome to another episode of AndyVGR. Okay, Star Trek The Next Generation on Sega Genesis. Okay, this game, obviously, you can tell by the rating on here, the VRC rating, GA. That means it came out before the ESRB, which means it's a little older. And I bought this for the used price of $1.95. I saw this down at a game exchange store. And the reason I picked it up is because Fish and I were sitting around and we were talking about how we used to play this game when we were kids. First of all, let me say this isn't going to be the typical review. I'm not going all out on this one. I'm not a big fan of this game. The show I liked. I'm not like a tremendous Star Trek nerd or anything. I've seen the movies. I liked a lot of the TV shows. But, you know, matter of fact, this is the odd thing about Star Trek games and me. I like the 25th anniversary one for the NES. Used to, Fish and I had a ritual. We would try to beat it every summer in between school. And we usually did. And until the game screwed up. Last time we tried it, we were clear next to the last level, and the game decided to have a fit on us. A lot of fun there. But this game sucked the fun out of Star Trek games. We used to play this one. Matter of fact, okay, here's what we used to play. We used to play the 25th anniversary edition on the NES. Now, I know there is a PC version. I have it installed here, and it's actually quite a bit different. Then we used to play the Star Trek Bridge Simulator on the Sega 32X. Yes, Fish had a 32X. I know somebody that owned one. I used to own one, matter of fact. Bought it used at a Goodwill for $5, I believe, but I still owned one. We used to play that game, and it was a lot of fun. We also used to play the Deep Space Nine game. Now, here's the funny thing. I don't really care for the Deep Space Nine TV show. It never really captivated my mind. Voyager I thought was cool. Even Enterprise was good. I didn't catch on to it till much later, DVDs and stuff. But anyways, I could not stand this game. We used to play the Final Unity. I used to play the Bridge Simulator for the 32X and for the PC, which was called Starfleet Academy on there. Loved it. Star Trek Klingon, Borg, all of those. Those were fun games. But could not stand this game. I know, I keep coming back and saying that. And the reason is because of, well, what I want to talk about. I want to talk about one level in particular. First, I'll go ahead and I'll give you an overview right now of the game. Basically, the game is you're sitting on the bridge of the Enterprise, and Dr. Talaris gives you a hell and says, hey, I need help down here. So you go to the planet, or at least you think you do, because it didn't really tell you how to really do that. And then you beam down to the surface, get raped by Romulans as you try to fight them off. Funny, they can hit you and you fall, but when you hit them, they stand there and take it for a little bit. And then after you beam up Dr. Talaris, or after you talk to Dr. Talaris and you beam back to the ship, nothing happens. Nothing at all. You sit around, you try to go somewhere else, and guess what? You run into Romulans left and right. Romulans are in this game so much, it seems like there's an invasion, but everybody seems to be calm about it. There's not even a Klingon ship yet, you know, they're just cruising out there, Romulans. All the time, Romulans. Then finally, after you look it up online what to do, you learn you have to go to a space station. And you muck around, and then you come across a spaceship, you know, and you help on the spaceship. Now, the reason I'm flying through this is because that's not the important part. I want to talk about the worst level in this grimy game. The Mine Shaft. That's right. The Mine Shaft is the level that defeated us as kids. Now, Fish kept telling me, there's a bridge in the game. You have to have Geordi for the bridge. I said, what bridge are you talking about? I've never seen it. Well, we found the bridge. He was right the whole time. But you know what? You don't need Geordi for the bridge. You know what you need Geordi for? Because after you leave the mines and you think you've beaten it, you've rescued all the miners, you've gone through all the little weeble worms crawling out of the ground attacking you, and you're like, yes, I saved all the miners, I've done my job as a Starfleet person. And you go on to the next level and you have Troy beam down and talk to a Ferengi, and you know, you keep going. And then there comes what you didn't want to hear again. You have to go back to the mines. Oh, not the mines again. No! God! In reality, let's talk about why the mines of Star Trek, echoes of the past, they don't even have the nerve to put it on air. In reality, let's talk about why. Why the mines are so scary. Roll the game footage.
To be completely honest, this isn't a bad Star Trek game. It's actually a quite very well made Star Trek game, but it's just not that good of a game. And that was always the problem with Star Trek games. With the exception of Voyager Elite Force, most Star Trek games just seem to fall by the wayside. I guess it's kind of hard to capture the final frontier in game format. This game, to say why it's so hard, you have to put yourself back when it came out. We were all just a bunch of kids, and we had our Sega Genesises, or Genesi, I guess you'd call it, or Super Nintendos, and we would be playing this game. And unless you had access to a magazine or some other way to get the information, you just could not beat this mine level. It's Gamma Orion 3B, I think, something like that. Now, I hear the Super Nintendo version's even harder. Kind of makes me glad I don't have a Super Nintendo, I guess. The Genesis version is supposed to be a little more refined. I don't really know. I never played the Super NES, but I did see that it actually looked better, which a lot of things on the SNES did look better. But anyways, the game itself, if you go through it and you some way make it through the mines, then you have to go back to it later, unless you do what you have to do later the first time. And what is it you have to do? Well, the first time you're down there, you have to rescue these miners. Now, they're spread all throughout the 4 different levels of the mine, 4 different floors, which is actually in 2 separate sections, the 4th floor is, so it's kind of like 5 levels. And that wouldn't be too bad, except it's a complete maze. And the maze just goes on and on and on, to where you have to go to game FAQs to get a map, an ASCII map of it. Okay, but the problem is, we didn't have access to ASCII maps or anything when we were kids. So what were we to do? That's right, we just wandered around, and so the game was basically unbeatable. You know, we're not going to sit around and draw maps. I wasn't that kind of a gamer. You know, stuff like Contra and stuff, that was fun, not running around in a blue, like a really dark blue screen, and having weebles or slugs or whatever pop out of the ground every few seconds and slam me. Now, I guess if you play as Deanna Troi, she won't get attacked by these monsters. But you see, here's where the problem lies. If you do manage some way to get through it the first time, when you beam back down the second time, you have to be Geordi, because Geordi can see these things on the wall that you have to collect. It's some kind of ore that you desperately need. And there's somewhere along the line of like 48 of these things spread around. I kid you not. It is ridiculous. Oh, and don't even get me started on the music. Yeah, it's kind of cool the first couple hundred times you hear it, but when you spend as much time as we did down in the mines of Gamma Orion 3B, it just... yeah, it's not fun at all. But, yeah, I digress. The game itself, I mean, there's other things that I could gripe about. For instance, if you take a lot of battle damage, look how long it takes to repair your ship. That's right, I'm not speeding this up either. It honestly takes that long. And you can't go anywhere with navigation down, so you're just going to have to sit there and wait. One really cool feature is looking through the ship's library. You know, if you're a fan of Trekdom, you can sit there and read info, but once again, if you're a real big Star Trek nerd, you're already going to know all this information, so you're not going to need to sift through it again. It's just kind of like, I guess, reading the news when you already know what the news is. Alright everybody, this is Andy. Sorry to cut it short this time, but I just really have a very bad distaste for this game. This is Andy. I'll catch you next time. And until then, good gaming, everybody.